where that level of responsibility might have driven other people running, obviously, from that, you escalated your involvement still further.
I thrived on
right.
it. And by this time, my husband Mark and I had actually separated. So we had divorced. I was a single mother, working full time, and doing volunteer work with Church Life on a part-time basis. And I loved it. It was just what gave me life and purpose, to balance all three. Moving forward to 1993.
Okay.
I had just completed my first year of a 2-year term as district president of the Thomas Jefferson District, which is sort of the Mid-South of the East. And we were hosting the big national convention of the Unitarian Universalist Association in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it happened to be the same year that we celebrated the 250th birth of Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
And the district I served was named after Thomas Jefferson. So we were quite proud of this. And when I arrived at the convention, I had a role in welcoming everybody to Charlotte, and that was going to be sort of the main contribution that I had. After that, I was just another delegate participant. But that was my moment in the starlight, we thought. What happened was an event had been planned for later during the convention to celebrate the birthday of Thomas Jefferson. And it was advertised, promoted as a birthday ball. And people were invited to come dressed in period costume. Many people didn't think much of that. Actually, many people thought that sounded exciting. Who doesn't want to have an opportunity to dress up?
Right.
But Unitarian Universalism has a membership that includes African American people and black people who aren't necessarily African American. And many of them actually were quite offended by the invitation and by the idea that we were going to celebrate someone who, first of all, had not been Unitarian.
Right.
And second, was a slave owner. So, to say the least, all hell broke out.
Yes, I can understand that coming dressed in period would require a radically different costume depending on your background.
Yes, yes. And we were made aware of that.
Right, some of the costumes none too flattering.
Right. So, when all hell broke out at the opening plenary session, I was just one of the many delegates. But because I served as district president, I felt a sense of responsibility, even though I really had nothing to do with any of the planning at all. I still felt, you know, I'm in a leadership role.
That makes sense.
So I ended up being in a group of 13 people who were charged by our moderator and denominational president to have a deeper conversation about what had happened, and try to find some sort of solution or recommendation to bring to all the participants, all the delegates. And we were given an hour to do that. So we actually had one of the deepest conversations I have ever had. We stood in a circle in a room that might have been 12 by 12 in size. We were quite close. We held hands through most of that meeting. We shared tears and we shared laughter. We shared our pain and hurt and our hopes and aspirations and our vision. And our vision was that we're not here to place blame or to point fingers at anyone for doing wrong. We're here to lift up the opportunity to learn from our common mistake, our shared mistake, and to become better people in this process, to become more understanding and respectful. And everybody looked at me when our time was up and said, "We'd like for you to be the first one to speak." And I swallowed hard and said no. And they kept looking at me and saying yes.
And you were drafted, evidently.
And I said, well, okay, I'll do it. If my partner, who served also in the Thomas Jefferson District, could stand with me and we would hold hands. We stand together. His name was Leon, and he was a black man. And I wanted for us to stand together for the impact that that would make. I was the first one to speak, and Leon spoke next. And the whole time we stood together. While I was speaking, there were 3,000 some people in the audience. And as I was speaking, I felt like something greater than me was speaking through me. And that's when I received my call to ministry. That's when I felt, oh yes.
Well, now from that experience, bringing that to Brattleboro and your ministry at All Souls Church, can you describe a little bit for our viewers how the role you feel All Souls plays in the community, and any special projects in particular that you and or All Souls Church might be involved with at this time?
Well, when I came to All Souls Church 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago, I came with a portfolio that was probably strongest on the pastoral side, providing a pastoral ministry. And that was very much needed at that point, with All Souls Church having had a very traumatic experience. I am a good listener, and I provided a lot of opportunities for people to speak to me about their experiences and provide some guidance in the healing that needed to take place. As we have journeyed together now for 8.5 years, my emphasis has by nature shifted, because I've gotten involved with the community, primarily through the interfaith Clergy Association.
Okay. Is that based in Brattleboro?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It's the Brattleboro Area Interfaith Clergy Association, a fantastic group that includes the Catholic priest, the major Protestant denominations, the Jewish rabbi, the Muslim community, Buddhist group, the Baha'i community, and of course Unitarian Universalist. We meet monthly, except during the summer when we take a break. And we provide services and programs throughout the year that foster interfaith conversations and relationships, and events that provide ministry in the community. The major effort that we have been involved with during the last couple of years has been around the Brattleboro area winter emergency overflow shelter.
Okay.
2 years ago, we took on the responsibility of making sure that all of the guests at the overflow shelter receive an evening meal.
Okay.
So that they can sleep.
Right. And is that
Peacefully at
responsibility shared amongst the different congregations involved?
Yes. I volunteered as the coordinator of the meals. And all the congregations, all the faith communities participate in some way with providing meals.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Barbro.
Thank you, Daniel.
It's been a pleasure having you here. You folks, you've been watching Neighbor to Neighbor. I'm your host for today, Daniel Kasnitz, sitting in for Lynn Coram. Our guest has been Barbro Hansson, the minister at All Souls Church in West Brattleboro. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.